Welcome to Writers Anonymous YouTube channel. Writers Anonymous presents Even Stranger Stories. Episode 11. Keep off the grass.
Adam woke to see the clouds tumbling silently overhead. Usually he loved to watch their mute passage through the sky. This morning was alarmingly different. Something unusual had robbed him of the thought that he might lay there and enjoy it. It was cold, he was outside and unable to remember how he'd got there. The ground underneath him felt hard and sharp in places. Glancing down, sight confirmed what he didn't believe were possible. Feeling at his chest and legs a disbelief of the evidence provided by his own eyes, panic set in. He was naked. "Awake, are ye?" The voice came from some way away. Adam feared that it was addressing him. He deftly flipped himself over, trying to preserve whatever modesty remained. Somehow the ground refused to relinquish a small patch of head hair. This was ripped from his scalp mid-flip. The grass underneath him was not grass at all. Someone had gone to great lengths to ensure that it resembled a manicured lawn beyond its edge, at least in color. That was where the similarities stopped. The knot grass was made of tiny plastic teeth, each of which had a small hook at its apex, almost like those plastic fabric fasteners. Adam chanced to gaze out along the spiky surface. It stretched perhaps a further 20 feet in front of him before the lawn began proper. The knot grass circled both the lawn and a large manor house some distance away. A figure marched from the house. Its gates set a determined shadow across the lawn, like a sundial declaring it Adam o'clock. The figure was wearing a wax jacket which was perhaps a size too big for it. One arm held a bundled something, the hand itself concealed under too long a sleeve. The other cradled a shotgun, bent double and hung from the crook of the elbow. As figure got closer, Adam saw only mild annoyance on the man's face. "Been out partying, have ye? Messin' with the locals?" The man threw the bundle in Adam's direction. To his relief it partly unfurled mid-flight to reveal a pair of chinos and a white t-shirt. "Maybe you got bit. Don't suppose you remember nothing, mind. Get dressed and bugger off." The man turned to leave, mumbling as he left. "Bloody werewolves. Sick to death of 'em."
Sometimes we are unknowing victims of our other selves. Other times we know exactly what we're doing. In the shower.
It was only a shower of rain, but unfortunately for me I got caught up in it. I ran along the deserted street soaked through to the skin, feeling cold and miserable. The downpour was so heavy I could barely make out more than a few feet in front of me, and is the reason I ran into the young woman. I very nearly fell myself but managed to keep upright. Mortified, I looked back and saw that she was laying face down at the edge of the pavement, moaning softly. I squatted in front of her, water dripping incessantly off the end of my nose. Reaching down, I gently touched her head and slowly turned it towards me so I could see her face. Her eyelids were fluttering as she drifted in and out of consciousness, not really aware of my presence. It wasn't until I pulled my hand away that I noticed the blood on it. Staring for a moment, I was stunned, my breath held in mid-flow as I watched the rain begin to wash it off. The woman's head began to move as she began to wake, the large gash on the side of it becoming more visible. Her hand stretched up, grabbing my wrist in a vice-like grip. "You idiot," she said, her bright blue eyes staring wildly at me. "You could have killed me." I tried to think of something to say in response, but although words of apology formed in my mind, my lips refused to say them. What came out instead was a Neanderthal grunt. The contempt shown in her face in that instant bore into me, making me feel naked and exposed. Suddenly, her body stiffened, and after a long-drawn, ragged breath she laid still, her hand flopping back by her side. All I could hear now was the rain spattering against the unyielding concrete. I looked around. There was no one in sight. Taking one last look at the woman, I stood up and left. I didn't need the hassle of a police investigation. After all, it was only an accident.
Being at fault in how one feels is a state of mind. We can ignore fault even if we are to blame, and we can blame ourselves when it's not our fault. Hidden space.
It was his place now. He'd gone to the estate agents, agreed the price and paid via his bank. This was the first time John had walked into the house without escorts. He'd noticed the small square in the floor on his first viewing, but now he was allowed to indulge his curiosity. John lifted the square using the small brass ring recessed into the parquet flooring and gazed into the hole. He had to stop himself from leaping back. What he saw was nothing that he expected. There was no cellar, no floor, and no piping to support the house's heating. What he witnessed was a galaxy with incumbent nova and supernova, planets with associated satellites. He was looking down on it as if a god in the heavens. John shook his head. This couldn't be real. He was hallucinating, though he had to make sure. John called out, "Missy, come, Missy." Dutifully the cat appeared and started to curl around his leg. He tickled the moggy under the chin. She was happy. John picked his cat up and dropped it down the hole. He'd almost finished thinking that it would not be a problem, as cats always land on all fours, when the thought was interrupted by his eyes. His eyes told a different story. The cat exploded as if dumped straight into a vacuum. Fur, skin, vessels, blood and other matter instantly attempting to fill the void that was space, gobbets going every which way. John reeled. He felt sick. He'd expected a hallucination, not reality. He'd killed Missy. Everything was wrong. Days later, after he'd become accustomed to the unwarranted sacrifice, he approached the hatch again and lifted its cover. The swirling universe was still there, but Missy was gone and he couldn't bring her back. John stared into the abyss and considered the possibilities.